We're to thank you right now. We are about to hear from Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner. He's about to give us an update on the city's water system. Let's listen in.
Outages from Monday, with some exceptions. For example, if a transformer blew, of course, that they had to work on that. But he did indicate to me this morning that they had brought on more generation, more power. And that those power outages will be restored. Now, let me say this. It's still a somewhat uncertain sort of situation. And what I mean by that, they have brought on a lot of generation very quickly. That doesn't mean that there won't continue to be some power outages. Certainly may not last as long. And then there may be some instances in which they still may say to a Centerport or an Encore that they may have to shed some power. But at least the situation is much better today than it was yesterday. And then this morning I had to talk with Dave Lazar, the president of Centerport, and Kenny Mercado is here as well, which says, and he indicated that they are in a much better position, and I'm going to let Kenny follow up on that. But the point is, where yesterday there were 1.3 customers in the Houston region, Centerpoint service area without power, today that number is significantly less. I still would encourage people to conserve on their energy, to be very careful about that. We're still going to be in this period of time for a few more days. With respect to the water pressure, I am pleased to say that today things have improved. The water pressure has increased. The bottled water notice was given when the water pressure falls below 20% PSI. That water pressure now in the city of Houston is above 20, but the bottled water notice remains in effect. So we're still working to build up the water pressure. Hopefully, many people, businesses throughout the city is experiencing better water pressure. The hospital's water pressure is much better today than on yesterday. The pressure in the jails, for example, is much better as of last night than it was the earlier part of the day, and that should continue to improve. So I certainly want to thank Director Carol Haddock and her team for working all throughout the night. We brought on more generators to augment our power source. And so things are starting to improve. Now, we still have a way to go. Let me just say that. Things are improving, but for some people, they still may have problems flushing their commodes. But the goal is to continue to to build on that pressure, to stabilize it, which means I'm going to continue to ask people to conserve on their water usage. And what I mean by that, if water pressure is up in your home, for example, don't just go out and start washing a lot of clothes and all of that, because we still need to enhance the water pressure and to build it up and then to stabilize it. And so at the end of the day, you may say, okay, so what does that mean? Do we still have to boil water? The answer is yes, because it takes some time to really stabilize it. And then once it has stabilized, it's above 20 in terms of the pressure. It needs to be right around 35, really, 35. And we don't anticipate that taking place until tomorrow. Then we have to take samples and send those samples to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ. And then we have to wait about 24 hours before we do that. So we're still looking at sometime probably at the best, I would say Sunday, but I'm just going to say Monday. So we'll still be in this boil water status probably until about Sunday or Monday. I just want to say that so that you will know. And so if you have power, boil that water, and then you can use it. If you don't have power, then it's the bottled water. And I know, talking to the grocers, that they've gone out and they're restocking their shelves with more water. And at the same time, We are working to provide water to people, to families who may not be able to afford it. For example, in talking with Pepsi, we have asked them to send to Mattress Mac Gallery Furniture 10 pallets, and those 10 pallets of bottled water are already en route to Mattress Mac. And I want to thank Jim McInville, Mattress Mac, for just being a tremendous partner with the city of Houston. And then as of today, we're going to be working through the district council members' districts. There are 11 district council members, and I have asked them to identify sites in each one of the council members' districts. And then we will be providing water to each one of those sites, and it's my hope that we can have that up and going by today by 2 o'clock. But certainly by today, and then they'll be distributing water to people in their respective districts. We want to do it this way because we don't want everybody to just be converging on just 1 or 2 sites. We want to kind of establish sites throughout the city that will be accessible by a lot of individuals, and so we're going to be working through the city council members' districts. There are 11 of them throughout the city of Houston. They will identify sites, and then we will make those sites available of water at no cost at about 2 o'clock today. So that's on the water distribution and the boil water notice. I will say to you that the airports are now operational, and so we're moving forward on that front. With respect to, let me back up on the water pressure. Things should be much better now at the various hospitals throughout the city of Houston in terms of the water pressure. And then we certainly, another priority were the fire hydrants for Chief Pena and all of the firefighters. And I know the pressure has to be above 20 for them to be able to effectively do their job. And so that's been the top 2 priorities: our hospitals and our fire hydrants. And then lastly, before I bring up Chief Bunick, once power is restored and stabilized, once the water pressure is up and stabilized, and we are out of this boil water notice, which I hope will be no later than Monday, the question then becomes, what about families and individuals who, when the power came on and the pipes burst and the ceilings fell in and a lot of damage was done to their homes, and they don't have insurance and they don't have the financial means? How do we assist them to rebuild and to ease the pressure and the anxiety on them, especially for our seniors and especially for low-income families who were already on the margins because of the coronavirus and so many other factors? With that being said, it is my intent to set up a fund similar to what we did with Hurricane. People financially assist them in being able to identify contractors and other nonprofit organizations that can help repair their homes as they move forward. I've had a conversation, for example, with Dave Lazar, who is the CEO of Centerpoint, and he has agreed to serve as the chair. And we'll provide some additional details on that fund, probably if not later on today, tomorrow, as we work out the details. And I've talked to several other corporate leaders, corporate as well as other philanthropists who have also agreed to contribute to this fund already. But what I want to say to families, to our seniors, people in our low-income communities, people who don't have insurance, and they are wondering and questioning, yes, the power is on, Mayor. Yes, the water pressure is up, but my ceiling has fallen in, and my house is damaged, and I don't have the means. How do I move forward? We want to do everything that we can to pull together as a city to help provide you with the support and the assistance to repair your homes, to repair those ceilings as we move forward. I also want to thank members of the faith-based community. I was just on a call about 45 minutes ago with other faith-based leaders and community leaders and other nonprofits who are also willing to step up. This is what we do in our city. This is how we make sure that we don't leave anyone behind, and that we recognize that people are already under a great deal of stress and strain, and so we want to assist them. And then lastly, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities is partnering with Crowdsource Rescue to deliver bottled water to people with disabilities who don't have access to reliable transportation. We want to make sure that no one gets left behind, especially the most vulnerable populations, and you can sign up for delivery at crowdsourcerescue. And that is crowdsourcerescue.org/freeze. And so again, whether you're in the disability community, whether you're low income, whether you're seniors, regardless of your status, this has been another situation that we've had to face. And if we work together, and I know we will, we'll move forward, and then we'll do everything we can to make sure that we build a city that's stronger, more resilient, and more sustainable, whether we are talking about the summer or whether we are talking about the winter. Let me first call on Chief Bunick, and then we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and guidance during this critical situation that none of us have ever faced before. OEM is still working very hard with all of our city departments and then all of our local, county, state, and federal and private sector partners. So I want to thank everybody for this team effort that seems to be working. 911 calls are back to normal. This morning we received 382 calls versus 738 yesterday and 1,400 2 days ago. Power and water is our friend. We've also received reduced calls for requests in our Office of Emergency Management, since folks are able to charge up their durable medical devices. The city's also looking at opening up some park district buildings in our local communities as warming centers, and also for folks to be able to charge up their devices, because we're aware that most people have power, but not everybody. Fuel shortages that were reported the last few days seem to be working themselves out. Since we have power and there's no ice. It's our understanding that some of the stations that were closed reduced capacity, which caused lines at places that were open, and also the fuel tanks were not running due to ice on the road. Lastly, the GRB right now is under 600 people this morning, and we will keep the GRB up and running up until Saturday morning. At that time, we will be closing the facility. It was never set up to be a long-term shelter. Thanks again, Mayor.
I do want to say, in reference to the GRB, because that was primarily intended for our homeless population, one of the good points that I want to make is that since we had, for example, at one point 797 people there, we've also set up stations there to work to provide people with temporary or permanent supportive housing. And I do believe that some people have taken advantage of that, and in those cases they won't be returning to our streets, but will be placed in a better situation. So I certainly want to make mention of that. Let me first turn now to Director Haddock from.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your leadership through this and your challenge to our team to bring this situation to a resolution as soon as possible. First, I want to start by reminding everybody that the city does remain in a boil water notice. We must advise you to boil your water prior to consumption in activities such as washing your hands or face and brushing your teeth. That really is important to keep your health and safety as we go through this. But I also want to start off with some good news. We started yesterday hoping that by the end of the day yesterday we would be where we are this morning. Yesterday we started the day making about 350 million gallons of water that we producing about 350 million gallons of water that we put into the system. And by the end of the day, we were up to about 450 million gallons of water that we put into the system. But that was still not meeting the demands that we were having. We were at 18 PSI average across the city at the end of the day yesterday. Overnight, we put our energy and our focus, and as the mayor mentioned, we brought in generators, additional generators. We had one of our contractors bring in 5 generators between 8 and midnight last night, and got 4 more water wells and water well stations back up online. As of this morning, we're actually producing over 525 million gallons of water that are being put into the system and into the storage tanks. Doing this has allowed us to initiate a process to start citywide pressure increases. Our system has surface water treatment plants way on the east side of town. We have repump stations that kind of go right through the center of town. And then on the west side of town, we have our well fields and our stations out there that combine that water. It takes all 3 of those to keep our system pressurized. At 7 this morning, we started pushing water from the plants on the east side of town. And as the increased pressure made it to the repump stations, we engaged the repump stations to continue to push that pressure to the east. And then we turned on the well fields to supplement that. As of 9 this morning, we were repressurizing the east from the central and from the west. By 9 a.m., the pressure had risen from 18 PSI last night to 23 PSI. And at 10 a.m., the average across the system was 26 PSI. This is a really important number for us. At 26 PSI, our firefighting operations are back in business. It's also that is above that minimum 20 PSI regulatory threshold, but it still doesn't bring us out of the boil water. So what we're doing this morning is we're working to stabilize around that 25, 26 PSI, make sure that we get the full system up to that, all the way from the east to the west, and then we're going to build on that pressure throughout the course of the afternoon. It is our goal to be at or above 30 PSI by the end of the day, but that is going to very much rely on every one of you as Houstonians to participate in making this happen. We're going to need to make sure that you minimize your water use, that you use water for truly critical functions, and that if you have a burst pipe, that you turn off the water to the system or to your home until you can get it repaired or at least plugged off. And if you don't know how to turn off your system, we have many, many staff members that are on call, stationed around town, and ready to show up and help you do that. Call 311 and they will get you directly to them. We'll get your address, your name, and we will have somebody come help you get that turned off. We're asking that if you live in an apartment complex, that you call the manager of your apartment complex. The manager are the ones that would call 311 if they're having problems. And also, if you see a break in our system, we want you to call us at 311 so that we can send our crews out to address those breaks. I want all Houstonians to understand that we absolutely understand how critical access to safe drinking water is for basic health and safety. And the pressures in the system not only serve your homes, but they also serve critical firefighting ability. And so it's really important that we as a city, once again, we ask you to come together on everything that attacks the city of Houston, and Houstonians stand up every single time. We ask you to take the precautions to help us keep the system stable and continue to build pressures so that we can achieve that goal of getting out of this boil water notice by Monday. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Haddock. I want to emphasize, if your pipes burst, please immediately turn that water off. And if by chance you see water coming from someone's home, especially if people are not at home, please notify us so that we can assist. That's very, very important. And just bear in mind, all of these elements are interconnected. And so whether you're losing power, then the water pressure, all of these things are interconnected. I do want to mention and acknowledge on yesterday, for example, the Parks and Rec Department, along with the Fire Department, Public Works and others, did help to provide water to some of our hospitals for their chillers. So I certainly want to thank that collaborative effort from all of the various departments. Let me bring up Chief Pena from the Fire Department. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your steady hand during these challenging times. This has been quite an experience, and we've learned so much hard and fast in these difficult times. But as was exemplified by crowdsourced rescues stepping up, I think good neighbors, good friends, good people make the city of Houston a pretty okay place to be. So we'll get through this one step at a time. Before I get into my report, I also want to stress that over the next several days, as the pipes start to thaw out, you will find leaks in your homes. Know how to shut off the water supply from the meter at your home. If you don't know how to do this, call 311. We will, and Public Works will work to get somebody out there to show you exactly how to do that. One other recommendation is if your pipes are frozen, don't leave the faucet on. That when they start thawing out, that just makes the problem worse when the water starts to overflow in the basins. So leave your water faucet closed until those pipes are thawed out appropriately. For the Houston Fire Department, we're operational, but the system does continue to be stressed. We've run an average of about 3,000 calls for service per day. So our firefighters are out there, day and night, and they're working extra hours. We had over 250 calls for carbon monoxide in the last 3 days. Over 250 calls, 17 just last night. Again, we've been stressing this point. I know people are taking whatever necessary steps they believe they need to in order to stay warm, but do not bring charcoal grills, propane heaters, generators inside your home. Do not run your vehicle inside your garage with the doors, even with the doors open. It's very dangerous, and it can accumulate carbon monoxide. It does not take much for those levels to be lethal. Headaches, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, confusion, those are all signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. If you have or are exhibiting these signs, step outside, call 911 if you need to get a medical evaluation. Okay? It's very important. Again, over 250 calls for carbon monoxide poisoning over the last 3 days. 17 of those came last night, and sadly we've had 2 fatalities here in the city of Houston. So it's, again, we want to stress this point because it is an issue. We've also responded to over 60 structure fires over the last 3 days, and so the system has been really, really busy. I want to thank our partners at Public Works for all the work that they're doing to try to get the pressures back up in the hydrants, and for the mayor for pushing the ask to get that system stabilized, because it is a concern for us. It is a safety concern. Until that infrastructure gets stabilized, please be mindful of what you're doing. Please be mindful of the steps that you're taking to try to stay warm, because you're unnecessarily exposing yourself to danger. We're working with 311 and SETRAC for those individuals that are on home oxygen, home O2. If they need their bottles replaced, call 311. 311, and working through SETRAC, our state partners, we will ensure that those bottles are exchanged. I think that's my report at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
And let me emphasize, if it's a dire emergency, if it's an emergency and you need to call 311 or call EMS, I understand that. Please do so. But if it is not, let's say, for example, if you're at home and you just feel very, very cold, or some discomfort, let me ask you not to do that. because that will tie up our EMS units, that will tie up the emergency rooms. So don't use the EMS and the emergency rooms when you at home and you don't have the power and you're feeling you're cold. Let's some good judgment, okay? But if in fact it is an emergency, then please call on us, and then we will respond. Now let me call on Assistant Chief Edwards, HPD.
Thank you, Mayor, and let me echo again how much we appreciate your leadership, Chief Pena and Chief Unick, Carol Haddock, and Rick with Centerpoint. Thank you so much for everything y'all are doing to work hard for the citizens of Houston. Just want to give a quick update with regard to our numbers. HPD, since the weather incident has occurred, we've had a total of 1,077 accidents that have been reported, and we've towed 61 vehicles. Aside from the accidents, just for things like abandoned vehicles, broken down vehicles and such. At the time of 11 o'clock, we had calls for service holding of 45, no code 1s, no code 2s, and code 3s and other calls. And so we're managing the call load very well. We did see an increase of calls the second day of the event, but those have come back down, and we're able to address those with the streets clearing up. We have only the one fatal accident. That's a testament to how good everybody out in the community has been doing with driving through all these conditions, and that happened the very first night. We have had some weather-related deaths that have been reported to us. We've had 4 with the carbon monoxide poisoning, a couple the first night, and then we had a couple yesterday. We still have our police stations with no water. But we are all back up on power. So thank you, Centerpoint, for making that happen. And we're just like the rest of y'all. We're dealing with the same issues with the water. So all I would ask is some of your neighbors may still be gone. If you happen to see water leaking, please shut that off on the outside. And we have our officers out there reporting water leaks as well, because the quicker we get these things shut off, we can get that water pressure back up. We do have the shelters going. We do have some officers at the shelters. We have some of our officers out visiting with some of the youth that are out there at the shelters and just engaging with them. And that's all I have as far as that. With the does anybody have any questions for us?
Hold on 1 second. One more. Let me bring up Kenny Mercado, the Senior Vice President for Centerpoint. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. And I was telling him a few minutes ago, he's the expert of experts when it comes to crisis management. So it's a pleasure to work with you. Thank you for everything. As you heard from the mayor, we're not done yet, but we've come a long ways in the last 24 hours. Yesterday at this time, 1.37 million customers were out of power. Today, it's about 40,000 customers without a single customer back on. We have the best linemen in the country working in your backyards today, safely, very experienced, well prepared. Let them do their jobs, and you will get your lights on as quickly as we can. We want to really, when you think about what happened yesterday, from about 5 p.m. last night till about midnight, we saw just a significant amount of generation come online across the state of Texas. It was a big impact, and as a result of that generation coming back online, our infrastructure was ready to serve, and we properly and efficiently and safely delivered that power, that generated power, to all of our customers here in the greater Houston area safely, and many of you by midnight or in the early morning experienced your lights back on. As the mayor said, we're not over. This is one time where we've added so much generation that it puts a significant impact on our grid. So think about it as on and off, on and off. So we're monitoring it very closely today. We have ample, across the state of Texas, we have ample reserved right now. And so we're going to continue to watch how well the generation stabilizes. And we hope, Mayor, that it will continue to stabilize. But tonight's another cold night, so we'll be working around the clock. We'll be watching carefully to make sure that the units stabilize and that we can focus on the customers that are still out and get everybody back to normal by the end of the day or by tomorrow. I just want to reach out and say thank you to our gas and and electric employees, Mayor, as we went through this exercise, they constantly were making sure we had the right supply of gas to serve all of our customers and had us ready to provide service to all of our electric customers. And that coordinated effort made a big difference, as you mentioned earlier. Last thing is we still need your conservation. Conservation is critical today and tomorrow. Think of this as a large amount of power is coming onto the grid, just like water. And when it does that, it will stress the wires because you're going to overload if you have too much inrush. So we're asking you to efficiently use your services for water and electricity and allow us to do our jobs, and we'll get back together here in the next 2 days. So thank you for your endurance, and we look forward to continuing to work with you till we finish up the event. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kenny. And then in closing, then we'll take questions as the power returns and as the water pressure builds up and increases. What I am concerned with is these pipes bursting throughout the city. Okay, that's what concerns me. So please pay very close attention to your homes, to your neighbors' homes, to people who are not at home, because that too will impact the water pressure. And then at the same time, we want to make sure, and again, that we're going to do everything we can to assist people who don't have insurance, may not have the financial means, to help them to repair their homes. That's what we do in the city. Having said that, one last thing. Be very careful with people who are knocking at your doors offering to repair your home, okay? Make sure you're dealing with plumbers who are plumbers and not con artists, okay? Especially for seniors and others. Please be careful. There'll be a number of people knocking on your doors, offering to repair your homes, or saying they're from Centerpoint or Reliant or you name it. Please be very careful allowing people into your home, or you paying people, giving people money, and then they end up absconding with what you gave them. So please be careful of that. I'll stop and we'll take any questions.
Another hard freeze for tonight. Water pressure being where it needs to be. What do you advise people on drinking water in the pipes?
On the drinking water, if you have power, boil the water first, okay? Right at 2 minutes, if you have power. If you don't have power and can't boil the water, then that's where the bottled water comes in place. And so that's why, in addition to what's being provided at the stores, and I do want to thank the retailers who are really stepping up, and they've got a number of trucks coming in. I talked with Joe Kelly, president of Kroger's, before this press conference, and they literally have hundreds of trucks that are rolling into the area, so I want to thank them. And then we're going to do our very best to distribute as much water without cost throughout our city to those families, those individuals who can't afford it. And we're going to try to make that available. So, and again, the plan is to use each one of our city council districts that will cover the whole city, and we'll make it as accessible. We'll set those venues up, and then we'll constantly try to replenish so we can keep it going. I mean, we're going to be in this status in terms of bottled water probably, let me just say conservatively, let me say Monday. If it's before, if we come out of before, great, but let's say Monday. So we're going to need to continue to boil that water or to use bottled water.
Can we add to that?
Yes, come on. Director Haddock.
So I do want to add to that. So that's about the use of water in your home. As you started out, we're expecting another hard freeze tonight. If you've been lucky so far and your pipes have not burst, we would encourage each of you to very strongly consider turning off the water to your house and draining the pipes for the night. You can turn it back on in the morning. So this evening before you go to sleep, go out and turn that main turn-off off. Turn some faucets on so your pipes drain. They can't burst if there's no water in them to freeze. So if you've been lucky so far and you have not had your pipes burst, I would highly encourage you to drain the water from the pipes in your house so that you do not have that happen to you as well.
That's a good point. And that's a good point, Carol. Yeah.
Some of the other questions, you mentioned most of them. Is FEMA going to be stepping in to help out with any of these things?
We're certainly going to be making some requests on FEMA. I was talking with the mayor of San Antonio, who's also in a similar status with the city of Houston. Well, all of the cities across the state, and then we're going to joint co-author letters to FEMA asking for additional support, additional water supplies, and there are some additional trucks that should be arriving from FEMA, so we anticipated that. I want to certainly acknowledge Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee for helping and making those calls on FEMA, and then recognizing that so many families are going to be in need of repairs to their home. We're going to be making a request on FEMA and others for some federal assistance for them. We are under an emergency order, both the city, the county, the state, and as well as the feds. So whatever additional resources we can get to assist people, we intend to do that. But a number of mayors, for example, throughout the state are going to be signing letters to FEMA and to the feds for additional support.
Will we see you continue rolling blackouts?
Kenny will probably be the best one to answer that.
Yes, sir. Right now, we feel reasonably comfortable. I just talked to the leaders at ERCOT about an hour ago. We're bringing on some more big generation, and the bigger units, the more stability. It's really that simple. And there's more units online right now than we've had online since Sunday, so frequency also helps. The grid looks great, and we've been working so hard to keep it stable. We're pretty good at it now. However, tonight's a freezing night, and all of our activities have occurred at nighttime while people are sleeping. We're going to monitor everything tonight and tomorrow night. And we're hopeful, it's a lot of new units have been put back in the system, that they stabilize and that they stay in the system. If that doesn't happen, then simply put, we're going to go right back to either small to medium or large curtailment. But hopefully we can do it and rotate it and keep it as simple as possible and make the duration as short as possible.
Last question in every station was asked about, you spoken with Ted Cruz, and what do you think about his campaign trip?
Well, it's certainly much warmer where he's going. Let me just put it like that. Look, my task as the mayor of the city is to stay on the ship until everybody's needs are met. Until the power grid stabilizes, and we know that the power is going to stay on, and we're not facing any rolling blackouts, until we bring up the water pressure such that everybody can flush their commodes and can have clean drinking water. The job is not done. The mission is not complete until that's done. And then sometimes, you may not be getting water. Let me just say that the city of Houston has not turned off water. So if the pressure, for example, is up and your neighbors have it and you don't have it, it may be something else taking place. But my job is to stay here until the situation is resolved. So that's it. I'm gonna let the senator speak for the senator. What I will say to you in my 5+ years as mayor is that I've had plenty of practice dealing with these situations. I don't need any more practice.
I have one more question about Kingwood and Clear Lake. And we need to clarify that.
Oh yeah. Now Kingwood and Clear Lake are not under the boil water notice. Kingwood, Clear Lake, they are not under the boil water notice. They're on different systems. They're on different systems. They're not a part of the main system that we're talking about. So the boil water notice does not apply to Kingwood, and it does not apply to the Clear Lake region. Okay, I want to be that clear. Now let me go back. I don't need any more practice. Okay, I've had enough practice. But I will say, the resilience of the people in this city is amazing. and how people come together is amazing. So I can't thank all of the parties. There are a whole lot of people who stepped up, a lot of companies and corporate execs and businesses who have stepped up, several people who have called this morning who have offered support for the fund that we intend to establish in the city of Houston. And so that's encouraging. So a lot of, even in the midst of what we've gone through this week, a lot of positive things have come forward. And and in spite of it all, we still have so much to be grateful for. So depending on what happens for the rest of the day, I intend to probably give another update at the end of the day, because we really want to drive home to people about the danger of carbon monoxide. Because I know people, they're doing everything possible to keep warm, but there's danger in doing things the wrong way. So we really want to emphasize that. And then again, I want to say to people, don't rush to the emergency rooms if it's not an emergency. Don't tie up our EMS units if you don't have to. Save the EMS units for people who really need to go. And I say that very delicately because, you know, if you're sick and really bad, then we want you to go. But if you're not, please don't use the emergency rooms as a warming center. I guess that's what I'm saying. Don't do that. All right, I think that should do it. Appreciate it.
One more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Clear Lake issued more water this morning.
Well, you know, I said not Clear Lake. They're on a different system. But Clear Lake this morning, they had to issue a boil water notice as well. Again, when that pressure drops to a certain level, you're obligated to give the boil water notice. And that's why it's the city of Houston, many of the surrounding areas, it's San Antonio, it's Austin, many of the surrounding areas around Dallas. It's all over the state. But, you know, this too shall pass, and we'll get through it. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Two big headlines coming out of the mayor's news conference this afternoon with respect to our power and water. A boil water notice still remains in effect for the city of Houston and will likely remain in effect through Sunday or Monday. Public Works says it is now working to stabilize the system with respect to our power. CenterPoint says 40,000 customers are now without power. That's down from 1.37 million around this time yesterday.
Yeah, certainly encouraging news coming out of that press conference this morning. Still yet so much to be done.
KPRC 2 News at noon begins right now.